1. Last spring at a local botanical garden. People, me, the photographer, friend who was modeling for me, doing random photos, upset lady and her friend. It was a beautiful early May afternoon at the botanical garden, cherry blossom time of year, you know, the just a good day to be around nature. The park is slightly busier than normal for a Tuesday afternoon, but still mostly empty. Me and the model are talking, and I take out my camera and get shots of the flowers with a macro lens. A few nice simple portraits of her. We sit down and lounge for what felt like hours, but was maybe 45 minutes, snapping some photos here and there. I used a full-size Nikon D810, and I have an 85mm lens with a lens hood. So, not too small at all. We moved to a different spot, to get a different colored tree, and an upset woman and her friend come over.
"We want next for photos."
I didn't hear them at first because I was talking to my friend. Next comes a heavy tap on my shoulder.
"I said we want photos next."
I, without hesitation, hand them my card and say you can book me for another day, but I'm busy.
"Oh, please, you're already done with this person,"
she says as she gives my friend a nasty look up and down.
"I think your camera's had enough of her."
I'm sorry, I'm with her and she is my friend and model. If you wish to book me, my emergency pricing is $500 an hour, with a minimum of 3 hours paid up front.
"How fucking dare you? You know who I am?"
Her friend chimes in.
"Go get security. I'll just have to throw you out and take your camera. I can do better than you anyway."
I put my camera into my bag and look for security myself. About 2 minutes later, the friend comes by with a guard and upset lady.
"Your asshole photographer working here is refusing to take my photo. Call your manager over now or I'll have you fired after he is. And he stole my camera. It's in his bag."
The guard has a look of, "Oh Lord, here we go" on his face and calls the manager. Now upset lady is on the phone with 911 to report me for stealing her camera. 7 minutes go by of upset lady bickering with the manager and security me and my friend off to the side just what the helling at this. Please show up, and at this point the manager has told them she is harassing me and wants her removed.
"I will not leave without my camera. It's in his bag."
The cops question me about it and I say, please ask her what camera model, memory card size and lens are in this bag, and what copyright information in the settings will say it's her camera. She would know it. The cop grins at me because he knows it's my camera, she's just being extra. She's asked,
"It's a Canon T5i. I don't remember which lens because I have so many."
I pull the camera out and it's a Nikon and show them the copyright input screen, at which time she screams,
"But he sexually assaulted me when you weren't looking."
At this point, the cop pulls his radio out and calls in an EDP call, and he needs services for that. I later find out that means emotionally disturbed person, and she was charged with harassing me and my friend, trespassing in the park, and ended up spending like 9 days in a mental health facility. 2. Today I got a message from an old IT consultancy colleague of mine, who runs his own small consultancy firm now. He was looking for someone who can hold his own winky face for one of his clients, which reminded me of this story. Background. About 10 years ago, freshly out of college, I started working for an IT consultancy firm. The first assignment I got was a huge international company, which site in my country had about 100 people working for them. Half of them were consultants just for my employer, the other half were internal employees. I joined a small development team, also half consultants, half internals. On site there was a service manager for my employer, who oversaw all the consultants when it came to evaluations, bonuses, news from our employer, etc. The consultants reported to a manager from the company for work-related stuff, but to the service manager from our employer for HR-related stuff. This story takes place in the beginning of January, and I just transitioned from consultant to internal employee after working with the client for a year and a half. Characters are me, Ross, the big boss, the manager from the company and client, Karen, the service manager, conveniently named Karen, Greg, good guy Greg, my colleague, the one who messaged me today. Story. I was on a conference call with Ross, Greg, and some people from a different site. Me, Ross, and Greg were all sitting in a different location in the building. It was one of those meetings where you listen for an hour and only speak to say bye at the end. I had my noise-cancelling headphones with microphone on, which had that company's logo on it. Ross gave it to me when I signed the contract with the company, as it was a leftover from the Christmas presents they all got. Suddenly, Karen yanks the headphones off my head and starts yelling,
"Answer me instead of listening to music, you fucking weasel!"
I sat there with my mouth open in shock, as I hadn't seen her or heard her approaching me.
"And who the hell did you steal these headphones from? They're for internals only."
But they're mine. Due to the initial shock, I couldn't find the words to explain I got transitioned to internal when she was on her month-long holiday in December, and clearly she didn't get the memo.
"Stop lying to me, turd, and consider your ass fired."
I found my composure. "You can't fire me, I don't work for you, and even if I did, you've got no right to talk to me like that." At this point, my phone beeped. I glanced at my screen and I saw a message from Greg. "You are not on mute. Ross and me can hear the whole thing. She continues to curse at me and tells me to stop looking at my phone when she's talking to me. I don't work for you anymore. And if you keep talking to me like that, I will call security and have you removed."
"Who the fuck do you think?"
She was interrupted by her own phone ringing, which apparently was a call from Ross. She answers her phone with all the fake jolliness she could muster after her tirade against me. But after all that, all I heard her say was,
"Oh, no sir. Yes sir."
Maybe I have to note that Ross, my manager, was the most senior manager on our site, and therefore also the country manager who signed the contract with my old employer, for which Karen worked. This was the only time in my life I saw someone age 20 years in a mere 15 seconds. Her face shifted from red to white as if someone flipped a light switch. She hung up and left without saying another word to me. Later I found out that people had complained about her behavior before, but now she was caught red-handed and my manager made sure her services were not needed anymore. She also got fired from my old employer, as the company was their biggest contract, and they could not afford to lose it due to Karen's actions. In some way, I have to thank her though, as I haven't had any problems with shutting down someone who was being abusive since that event. 3. So this was a few years ago. I worked for a large company as IT support, and I moved on to bigger and better things for reasons that you can learn if you care enough to read my old posts. I'm about a month into the new job, same basic commute but a lot more money and room to advance. Now, I'm not saying the old employer was cheap, but they stopped providing cell phones about a year before I moved on and expected us to use our personal phones for on-call, so I still had the same number. About 11 p.m. on Friday, my phone rings. Not a huge deal because I don't sleep much. Hello.
"This is Ashish from NetOps. Are you in the office? We're supposed to replace a switch tonight."
Wow, okay. Someone didn't get the memo. I no longer work for a large IT contractor. Can you remove this number from your on-call? He apologized and hung up. Funny story to tell the wife the next morning. Around 1 a.m., another call, different number and area code. Overseas, NetOps used our internal phone system and their location was random. I should point out that if this weren't Friday, I would have been a lot less tolerant, since I was waking up for work around 5:30 at the time. "Hello. You in the office?" "Sorry, but I told the last guy I don't work with you anymore." "Okay. Do you know who is on call?" "Haven't worked there for more than a month. Why don't you call Bob?" Which is not the name of my old boss, but works in a pinch. I'm not 100% on exactly what the guy on the phone was going to say, just the tone set me off. He started actually arguing with me. About 2 words into his response, I cut him off. "No, it's the middle of the night. I do not work for or with you in any capacity. And I'm telling you right now, if you call back, I'm going to call Steve, his boss, and make sure you're not hearing the end of this." I hung up on him. Honestly, if I were thinking, I would have turned the ringer off, since at that time I wasn't on the hook for after-hours work, but I'd been on call for so long, it honestly never occurred to me. 1:30 rings again. This time someone on my contact list. It's Steve. "Hey Steve, guessing you heard from NetOps." "Yeah, what the heck is going on?" Okay, so I don't know how Bob dropped this ball, but I put in my 2 weeks notice 2 months ago. I'm working at another company, but my name's still on the on-call rotation with your people, and whoever called me last doesn't seem to accept that I'm no longer an employee. "What? He told me you were verbally abusive and insubordinate." "You're damn right I was. First off, I don't like being woken up at 1 a.m. and getting yelled at unless someone's going to pay me overtime for it. And second, even if I were still working there, I was not a subordinate of anyone in NetOps. As far as that goes, your guy was just yelling at a complete stranger. All right, I'll straighten this out. Sorry for the trouble. Do me a favor and go over the call recordings. A couple of your guys aren't communicating, and one of them definitely wasn't listening. You know that's been a problem before. I was alluding to issues being fixed twice due to lack of communication, and their techs not listening to boots on the ground causing equipment damage in the past. Steve signed off, and I finally got some sleep. Never heard specifics about what happened afterward, although Steve was not the type to let things like that go. And I know Bob got an earful of it, because the next call would have had him on the hook for a job being started at a minimum of 4 hours late, or more likely being pushed back a day. No great justice here, just a really annoying night. 4. A while back I had a customer who wanted RB, a famous brand worldwide, sunglasses with prescription mirror lenses. No problem so far. His prescription was also known, so I thought this would not take up too much time. He quickly found a model he liked, and we started talking about the lenses. He said I should make him a good offer. I showed him the different mirror colors for the lenses, some regular ones, and the high-end lenses with a lot of cool colors. He liked one of the high-end colors, but they were too pricey. He immediately went into a fit that he found RB frames with mirror lenses online at a much cheaper price. I have to mention at this time that we have a policy that we give a discount if a customer finds the same product cheaper somewhere, so we always have an option to make the better offer. This will be important throughout the following conversation. I said, alright, maybe you can show me the homepage on your phone. I'll see what I can do for you.
X homepage was cheaper. Just don't bother and make it a good price offer. I always buy here.
I need to see it so I can see how much discount I can give you, and if it's the same model and lenses. Well, he actually begrudgingly took his phone out and started Googling and showed me some tinted lenses on said homepage. Well, those have no mirror though.
So what? It's cheaper.
I'm very sorry, but I need an offer for the same product.
I'm getting angry. Just make a good offer.
Well, if you want to spend less, the regular lenses are cheaper here. But there are less colors for the mirror.
Okay, just make me a good offer.
Okay. The RB frame with those lenses will be, and then I gave him the total.
What? That's too much.
I then explained how much the frames were, how much the lenses were, therefore why it was that price.
But the RB sunglasses are cheaper online and they have mirror lenses.
Let's be honest, I knew from the start that he wasn't willing to pay for anything, but I tried to keep my cool. I don't particularly like our policy, but I would do what's necessary. But at least he had to do proper research to get the discount. Okay, show me the website where you find this frame cheaper. He groaned in annoyance, but got his phone out again and showed me a Google search with RB frames.
Here, it's cheaper here.
Sorry, but that's a different frame. It has to be the same.
But it's RB, see? It's cheaper here. It also has mirror lenses too.
Yeah, but all the different frames have different prices. It has to be the same frame. Also, the lenses included in the frame are without prescription.
Okay, now I'm pissed. Where's your manager? I want to talk to him. You don't know what you're doing, and it doesn't matter what frame. I found it cheaper.
At this point, he was almost screaming, but I wasn't budging. I just started smiling. Our second manager, not a guy, but a female, he actually seemed like he was kind of a misogynist too by the way he talked to me, was standing at the register, and as she had nothing to do, had seen the whole conversation. She's standing right there. You can talk to her, but she will tell you the same. His jaw dropped as I pointed to her, and my manager, who I get along with extremely well by the way, came over and told him the same thing. I didn't think he would give up so easily, but cursing himself, he finally looked for the right frame, and I recalculated his total. He was staring daggers at me the whole time. He didn't talk to me while I put in his order in my tablet and printed the receipt so he could pick up his sunglasses in a few days. I don't even remember if he said goodbye. Probably not. My manager was just shaking her head, and I sighed in relief when he finally went on his way. 5. I work for a parcel delivery company, and my job is to fix parcels that have problems with the labels. If the address is wrong, give parcels to customers at our hub's pickup location, finding phone numbers and email to people who we're going to deliver parcels to, etc. However, I'm not exactly customer service. and the only calls I take are from people that have problems with labels. Nothing to do with late pickups, drivers having not delivered correctly, that sort of thing. Now, my co-workers should know that, but sometimes it seems they either don't know what kind of work I do or they ignore it. I have a few examples. One, I was working one day when I got a call from a customer service rep from a different hub. We have about 8 in my country. And I pick up the phone, thinking it's something to do with a label. What I got was not this customer service rep, but an angry man complaining about how his parcels had not been picked up yet. I told him that I'm sorry, but that's not my department. He didn't give two flying fucks and demanded that I got the driver to come and pick up his parcels, after telling him again that it's not my department and I cannot even see who picks up parcels in his area. He asked me to transfer him to someone who could help. Now, our phone system is run 100% via computer. Problem is, I was not instructed on how to use it, how to transfer calls and such. My company is not very good when it comes to teaching people how the new tech works, even if they use it every day. I told him I could not do that because I hardly knew who he was going to talk to, and asked him to please call our main number again, which he eventually did. I wrote the customer service rep an email and told her that I didn't have anything to do with parcel pickups, and I thought that was it. But no, she continued to forward these calls to me almost every day for the next week. It wasn't until I got my supervisor involved that it stopped. 2. I have a customer service rep at the hub that I work at who, let's just say, is not the brightest spark in the fire. One day she called me and told me that there was a guy on the phone that I needed to talk to. Thinking again it was about a label problem, I said, sure. And she forwarded him to me. What I got was a guy whose parcel had not been delivered for a few days. According to our driver, he was not home, and he couldn't get into the building to place the parcel. And he was furious, demanding an explanation on why his parcel had not been delivered, demanding an express delivery, which I can't authorize, and basically calling the company useless. I explained that I don't know why his parcel had not been delivered, and that I wasn't customer service, to which he replied, "Then why the hell am I talking to you then?" I was just thinking, ask my coworker who forwarded you to me. I told him I would look into it as best I could, and would get the parcel out for delivery the next coming weekday. This was a Friday, so it would be delivered on Monday. He got quiet and breathed heavily. I knew he was about to explode. He did eventually calm down, and after profusely apologizing for the inconvenience, I called the customer service rep and asked why she had forwarded this call to me. She replied, "Well, I figured you could explain it to him better." "Lady, you are customer service. That's your job." I talked to my supervisor, and he talked to her afterwards, so I thought that was the end of it. Wrong, 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 wrong. A little while later, I'm on the phone with another customer, when the same customer service rep shoots me an email with a phone number followed by her writing, "Call thanks." I wrote back, why? But didn't get an answer. Knowing that I often get calls from people about label problems and that they're sometimes in a hurry, I make the mistake and call the number. What I got was an older lady who was extremely angry about not having received a parcel a few days earlier, and was also furious about not having been notified that we had been on the address. I told her that I had tried to find a phone number for her, and that she had said her number was on the internet, and she called me a liar. She wasn't the receiver of the parcel, it was her husband, and I couldn't find a number for him to be exact. Then it was another 10 minutes of me, despite it not being my job, trying to explain how our policies work, and how I could not authorize express delivery. And everything I said just made her even more angry, and made her chew me out even more. I told her I would make some calls and see what I could do, and she finally hung up. I went to my supervisor and asked him for a number for the transport manager. "Why do you need his number?" Customer service asked me to call someone who, it appears, wanted a parcel delivered with express delivery, due to an apparent mistake from the driver. "Wait, that's not your job. You're not supposed to call people about stuff like that. That's customer service's job." I know, but they asked me to call and didn't explain what it was about, so I thought it had something to do with a label problem. "Who asked you to call that number?" I tell my supervisor again, who in customer service asked me to call. "Again?" "Yep." "I'll go talk to her." And the reason she wanted me to call this lady? "I didn't feel like I was getting through to this lady. I felt you were much better at getting through to her." I hate my job sometimes. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Idiots in the Wild, number 20. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. It might just be me, but it seems like idiots are on the rise these days. I've been able to do 3 of them in the past few weeks. Usually it's just every few months. Still, mustn't grumble, it means I have lots of entertaining stories for you guys. I'm going to make the rest of this outro kind of short because the birds are starting to chirp, and I don't want to be competing with them while I'm trying to record. One more to record for tonight. And with that, I'm going to head off for now, so until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.